Welcome friends to another r/entitled parents video. It's like my parents always said, the most polite thing to do is to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our first story of the day is by Dr. Zeus 000. Mother let her children, plural, pee in our front garden. Couldn't/wouldn't go across the street to use the toilet where their friend lives. Yesterday, I was sitting in my living room looking out the front window. I see a minivan pull up beside my house. The driver, a woman, exchanges the driver's seat with a man. They drive off. About 20 minutes later, they come back. The woman gets out of the passenger seat. She opens the back door. A child gets out. She produces what looks like a potty. The child sits down. Then the woman dumps the contents of the potty in the garden. Then another child gets out of the car and sits down on the potty. I go outside and ask, "Are you guys okay?" The woman said, "My child had to pee." So I said, "Keep the pee in your car, don't dump it in my front yard." Now, if these were exhausted travelers desperate to use the bathroom with no idea where the nearest public washroom is, I'd understand. But when I saw the man go retrieve something from the pickup across the street, I was like, hey, that guy rents the bottom floor across the street. Then they drove off again. We're on good terms with the owners of the house across the street, and the renter's a good friend of theirs. I just don't know why he would let his friend, the mother, I have no idea how she knows him, take her kids inside to pee rather than using my front garden as an open-air toilet. If you have or did have a front yard, and a family rolls up and one by one, they dump the contents of their toilet right there on your front yard, are you gonna be kind of livid? I feel like I probably would be, because why? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Our next story is by Xenos85VS, Your Dog Will Eat My Children. It's a story from a while ago, almost 20 years, when my first dog, a wonderful golden retriever Rocky, was still alive. He was very protective of us, but a softie with children, and always begging for lots of love and pets. Back to the main story, my dad and I were walking Rocky by the sea in Croatia without a leash, knowing he wouldn't do anything except begging for pets. However, as it was really hot, he suddenly decided to lie down a bit in the sea to refresh. I would have done the same. A woman on the road further away was starting to yell at us, "This is unsafe, your dog will eat my children." Her children were sitting next to her 15 meters from the dog playing cards and didn't even notice the dog. My dad answered to her on the spot, "Oh, don't worry, he's not hungry anymore. He already ate some of the other kids on the other beach." Not knowing what to answer to that, the mother frowned and puffed before going back to her daily sunbathing. I still don't know which one's funnier, the mother's comment or my dad's answer. I definitely think OP's dad's answer is way better. "Oh, no, don't worry, my dog doesn't eat kids. Not when he's full, at least. He already ate plenty of kids earlier. Anyways, have fun with your cards." Our next story is by Mommy Matka, entitled Mom Disrespects Someone Else's Property to Teach Son a Lesson. This was from my local moms group on Facebook. One mom posted a video from her ring cam of a dog walker coming onto her property to inexplicably pick up and throw a lawn sign for a local music event. The initial post said, "I'm not sure why someone would do this. It's a sign for event name. If you're on here, I'd like to know, do you not like music? Are you against this event? Or do you just not like law signs? Hashtag don't touch other people's stuff." The reply from the entitled parent said, "Hello all, thank you for posting and all of your comments on this post. I am the woman who simply picked up a sign and dropped it back on the ground. I did not break it or destroy it in any way. I just picked it up and dropped it on the ground. Why would I do such a thing? I'm a mother of a 15-year-old boy, and he's at the important age of learning and really understanding every decision he makes today affects all of his tomorrows. This holds true both academically as well as social behavior. With the school year starting this week, I was having the conversation with him this past weekend. Academically, the people you bring into your life based on the college you attend, the networks you build, and the influence on your future, i.e. job opportunities, etc., social behavior. In today's day and age, anything and everything you post online personally or that is posted about you by other people lives forever. People will judge you by actions no matter how small, and even if you didn't hurt anybody. Walking my dog after that conversation, I was thinking, did he really understand what I'm telling him? Is he taking me seriously? As I walked up to this house, I saw the Ring doorbell and the sign. I said to myself, what would happen if I picked up this sign and just dropped it on the ground? Let's see. Thank you all for your comments helping me prove my point to my son that even with the smallest of actions, People will judge you, call you names, make assumptions about you, and it will live on the internet forever. I'll be sharing all of your comments with him. My apologies to the owners of this home for upsetting you. I would also like to say I love the "I'll get you my pretty and your little dog too." I love Wizard of Oz, one of my all-time favorite movies. If you're still mad, please feel free to throw rocks at me the next time I walk past your house with my dog. I live on street name. When other members called her out on how entitled and inappropriate this was, she simply replied, "Thank you for your opinion." I think the real problem here is this entitled parent is trying to play it off as teaching a 15-year-old son to respect the property of other people. Now, I'm not a child psychologist, I don't know much about raising kids, but 15 seems a bit late to start teaching them about that kind of stuff. And also, you're leading by a very wrong example. I don't think to teach your kid to respect the property of others, you need to not respect the property of others, showing them how bad it is. I almost wouldn't be surprised if this whole social experiment thing for their kid wasn't some made-up story that they just thought of on the spot. This next story is by Blue Falcon 69. Entitled mother screams at me for having inclusive pride flag on my back glass and proceeds to shatter it for no real reason. Hello all you beautiful people, this is my first ever wild Karen encounter. For context, I myself am a non-binary individual and I have a pretty big vehicle as well. With its size and me being a redneck at heart, a 2004 Chevrolet Suburban 2500 LT with the 8.1 liter, I've gotten a few compliments and the occasional death stare as they see a few Pride window stickers. People generally were nice to me and those that weren't kept to themselves. Until now. Meet the cast of tonight's show. Me, yours truly. Henry, my absolute love and a sarcastic butt. Entitled mother, absolute runt of a person. Nice dad. Nice dad. Let's start this poop show. So I was getting food for McDonald's as both me and my partner didn't want to cook tonight. I look out the window to see a lady, her husband, and a kid taking a picture of the tailgate on my Suburban. I think nothing of it and continue to wait in line. About 30 seconds later, she comes in screeching. "Who owns that Suburban outside?" I say, "I do. What seems to be the problem?" She says, "You need to remove that gross flag from it. It's poisoning the minds of our children." Me, now moderately confused, say, "What flag are you talking about, ma'am?" She says, "That stupid gay flag or whatever it's called. You need to remove it now." Henry says, "Are you sure that's the one you want gone? I mean, there's a worse one outside on that Buick." He was referencing the American flag and being sarcastic. This infuriated her, causing her to launch into a tirade of how this generation has no respect for our country and that we're being brainwashed to become part of the problem. Henry and I roll our eyes and try to go back to ordering our food. After entitled mother's done screeching, she tries to put her hand on Henry's shoulder and spin him around. This triggers him and he spins around and clocks her in the jaw. He immediately breaks down and walks out to go sit in our truck. I was in shock at the scene in front of me and tried to help her up off the ground. Nice dad stopped me and said she had had something like this coming for a long time, then helped the entitled mother to her feet and brought her to a table. I thought the situation was done and over with. Oh boy, was I wrong. Entitled mother follows me out of the restaurant as I collect our food and proceeds to try and screech at me some more. She says, "Hey, you freaking better give me compensation for what I have to suffer through now." I immediately spin on my heels to face her. I say, "Tell me, who in their right mind would come up to people they just assaulted and demand compensation because they got hit in self-defense? Also, calling me a slur is a surefire way to not get a dang dime out of me. Have a nice day." That left her speechless for a second and, in her insane mind, decided to pick up a rock and chucks it through my back glass as I get in and start my truck, shattering it and sending Henry into an absolute panic. She tries to scurry off to her car, which, surprise, surprise, is the Buick from earlier. Her husband comes out and stops her from leaving. She yells, "Nice dad, let me go, darn it." He says, "No, it's time I actually say it for once. No, we are not leaving." He then proceeds to walk over to me and ask what the damage is. I'm still in shock, so I can't answer the question directly. I tell him about $650 to get a whole new back glass, and he asks if check is okay. All of this going on while entitled mother screams in the background, telling him to not sign that check and that they need to leave. He ignores her and tells me to cash the check quick as he signs it and gives it to me. We leave and surprisingly the check cleared, and we now have a backglass with new lift struts and a new latch for it as well. I feel like the person I feel the worst for in this story is ironically Nice Dad, because obviously he's been dealing with having to put up with this for a while, and they're probably gonna go home and get complained at and yelled at for this whole thing. I mean, man, I get the mother of your children type thing, but if they're going around assaulting people, both verbally and physically, about things like that, and you don't agree with it, man, that's a tough situation. Our next story is by Grace Kamikaze. The cafe staff should take care of my kids. You know what's beautiful? Parents, when they bring their kids to cafes and think, I don't need to take care of my kids, the staff will do it for me. I just love it. I can be sarcastic all day if you let me. I used to question why kids, even on the internet, thought that people should drop everything to take care of them. But now, I don't. Thank you, Karen. You made our lives a living heck. My aunt took me to a rooftop cafe to have a nice meal. Unfortunately, the people next to us were terrible parents. These morons sat down with their backs to their 5 kids while their kids ran rampant. It was the usual behavior of running into people, knocking over drinks, stealing food, playing with the plants, jumping in the fountain, and stealing empty chairs. They destroyed a bush that was in the shape of a bunny, and that was my favorite one. The parents, of course, couldn't care less about who their children were going to disturb. The staff asked them many times for them to keep an eye on their kids, to which they did, for 2 seconds before turning around again to talk. I guess their conversation was much more important than caring about other people because no one but them was having a good time. Eventually, one of the brats got a chair, leaned it so that it was on 2 legs, dragged it over to the top of the stairway, and let another kid sit on it. The third kid came over and pushed them both. The kid on the chair went flying off and was only saved by pure luck of a staff member being right there. That kid would have died if the staff member wasn't there. That was the breaking point for literally everyone in the cafe. We complained like there was no tomorrow, and the parents, in their Karen ways, blamed the staff for nearly killing their children. They were going to sue the cafe for child endangerment and yelled at the staff for not doing a better job at keeping an eye on their kids. Everyone was throwing a fit, and it turned into a fight about whose job it was to take care of the kids. Of course, Karen A and B didn't want to take a lick of responsibility and said the cafe was going to hear from them soon. I can't say if they did or didn't call the cops on the cafe, but I would wager that they tried and got laughed out of the room. The cafe's fine, by the way. They suffered no consequences for not babysitting because that isn't their job. Yeah, I definitely don't think there's anybody that appreciates going to some place and some entitled parents' kids are just running around like a bunch of Tasmanian devils just tearing up the place. The last thing I want is to sit down at a restaurant and some bratty kid comes up and shoves their gross child fingers into my food, especially with the state of things right now. And our final story is by Dracena AGXX, entitled Mom Made a Scene at a Vaccination Site. This happened to my boyfriend, 26-year-old male. Today, my boyfriend went to get vaccinated. His schedule was in August, but he got COVID, and his doctor only cleared him for the vaccination now. Currently, most of the schedule now is for 12 to 17-year-olds, and their parents have to be with them in the vaccination site. The process is you have to get a priority number first before you can get in line. While in line, a teen around 12 to 14 years old who was ahead of my boyfriend asked him what his priority number was, and they discovered that his number's ahead of hers, so she told him to go first. So my boyfriend went ahead. Later on, the girl's mom came and asked why my boyfriend went ahead, and the girl explained why. My boyfriend was wearing earphones at that time, so he couldn't hear what the mother was saying exactly, but it was something like, "People nowadays have no respect for lines. Priority number doesn't matter here." And the mother was ranting and pointing her fingers at him and even took his picture. My boyfriend ignored her and the mom just went away. The girl then sheepishly asked my boyfriend if it was okay as she went ahead because her mom got really angry. My boyfriend didn't want a confrontation and the girl was clearly embarrassed, so he just obliged. I don't know how they got in first when their priority number is much later. Our theory is they cut in line. Also, was it really worth it to make a scene just because of that? It was her daughter that made my boyfriend go first, and if the mother just calmly asked him to switch places again, then it wouldn't be a problem. Some people really think they're more important than others. Considering the history with Karens and entitled parents projecting, I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume that they did cut in line. And then as soon as they think the boyfriend cut in line, they go, whoa, whoa, whoa. A line cutter? Don't skip lines. Say it with me, nobody likes a line cutter. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.